Bartholomew Town, bringing Rhode Islanders closer to their world since 2018. Brought to you in part by the University of Rhode Island Online, Newport Film, Half Street Group, Navigant Credit Union, and the Audubon Society of Rhode Island.
Bartholomew Town.
I got a press release overnight. This is Monday afternoon that we're recording, and this press release headlined Frontline BHDDH Caseworkers in the Developmental Disabilities Division to speak on workload crisis impacting critical services for vulnerable populations. And look, in the description, it says SEIU Local 580 members in the Developmental Disabilities Division are drawing attention to what they say are the harmful effects of chronic understaffing, inadequate support, and the inability to deliver timely, high-quality services to Rhode Islanders with developmental disabilities. Despite their dedication and expertise, these frontline workers, again, I'm reading from their press release, they report that overwhelming workloads, poor communication from BHDDH leadership, and a lack of meaningful involvement in decision-making have created a climate of crisis and burnout. Workers are offering a presentation on, again, we're recording Monday, on Tuesday, that will describe this in more detail. We have two people on the podcast today, Matthew Gunnip and Alex Blue. Matthew, you're the president of the local chapter of SEIU. Give us your overview on what's happening here. When was the first time you heard about this on an official level, or even just rumblings that this was a major crisis? How long has this been bubbling up? Alex, kind of give us the rundown on what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis, if you would.
Of course, yeah. So thank you so much for having me as well. So basically, on a day-to-day basis, we can be doing any number of things. For those of us who are in the field of working with people, we know that it changes constantly what we're doing every day. But essentially, we are writing these service plans as Matt mentioned. Um, the whole idea behind conflict-free case management is that we're getting to know these people and then writing plans for them that don't necessarily that do reflect what the person wants and don't necessarily reflect, what services a particular agency has available. And so we're doing the writing of the service plans, but in order to do that, we need to get to know the people on a really deep level, because the idea is that it's person centered and that we're allowing people to be self determined and that we're empowering people and everything, which all sounds wonderful and is really challenging to do when you have a lot of folks on your caseload. So it's really important that we kind of have those smaller caseloads so that we can, or more workers, so that we can do this person-centered approach where we're getting to know these people on a deeper level. And so on a day-to-day basis, I'm going out in the community often, and I'm going all over Rhode Island, so I could be going everywhere from Woonsocket to Pasco to Jamestown to wherever, just kind of all across the state, north, south, west, east, everywhere. And going out in the community, talking to people, getting to know them, really understanding where they're at, what they need, what they want, all that sort of thing, which takes a lot of time, especially when you're working with folks who are maybe nonverbal or just who have a harder time expressing their needs or aren't often asked what they want and need. So a lot of the work is getting to know people, which is really hard when you have such a high caseload, like I mentioned. And then we do monitoring phone calls, or visits every month. So phone calls for some folks who prefer phone calls, but a lot of folks do prefer those in-person visits, because it's more connection, all that sort of thing. And then, um, of course, notes, documentation, some budgeting stuff, all sorts of different tasks that we're doing. Yeah.
What is the general consensus? Obviously, the consensus is based on what you've put forth in a press release and what you're describing right now, that this is a major problem, that you've got a workload, at minimum, a workload and a capacity issue. How many more staff members do you estimate roughly would you need? Are we talking about a half a dozen, or are we talking about a workforce of 50? And what do you do about that now, or what do you expect state leaders to do about that now that we've literally just a couple of days ago had a fiscal year 26 budget go through?
Yeah, that's a great. Oh, sorry, Matt.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, my head was spinning asking that question. Yeah, you're right. As far as that's a great question in terms of where are the resources. I know our members showed up to legislative hearings, pleading. We've, met with BHDDH administration, pleading for help. And I understand there's real fiscal issues going on in our state, and it comes down to choices and priorities. But if I'll get back to you, with some information. But if you just go to the transparency portal and you look at the amount of job titles at BHDDH to have the job title director or administrator, it is significant. It is dozens. It's a significant amount of positions. So I think it comes down to priorities, and I don't think you can just throw money at a problem. I definitely think, or no, we need more staff. I don't know what that number is. I think it needs to be connected to a caseload standard. And I don't know if Alex has more information about what the standard um, is, but I think there needs to be an objective standard of regarding workloads to figure that out. We had put legislation forward before this conflict-free case management went through that asked for a workload study, but unfortunately that legislation hadn't passed. It wasn't introduced this year. It was more geared towards prior to conflict-free case management, and then since the work changed so much, we really didn't know how to write legislation or propose what a solution would be. But we think the BHDDH administration, it's their responsibility to figure that out, and we're not getting answers of them trying anything different to assess the nature of the problem that our members are bringing forward, or concrete solutions to address these concerns. But I believe it's a combination of funding for positions, but also allocating and prioritizing non-union positions in BHDDH to use for this purpose.
Alex, it's kind of same question, just to, again, guesstimate of how big this problem is and, how you would tie it to caseloads. What, just a rough number when you look around, how many more people, what sort of workforce do you anticipate would be ideal? Again, we're probably looking at next year at this point, understanding the nature of the budget, unless there's some kind of unprecedented amendment or something like that. But realistically, what do you think what's the scope here?
Yeah, so to give some numbers, we have about a little over 4,000 individuals that we work with in total, and we're getting new people pretty frequently as well. And these are folks that kind of tend to stay with us for a while, and our goal is to kind of get them the supports they need to be on their own in some cases, and in other cases, it's folks who need supports pretty consistently, right? So we have a lot of individuals that we need to provide services for. And so, and there's, like Matt mentioned, there's about 16 of us right now with the state, and then there's some others in private agencies that are able to do some of the work. And then there's also some independent facilitators as well. And I don't have the numbers for how many of those there are, but it is pretty significant issue given that we have a lot of people who really need supports and not a lot of us to provide those supports. So I understand that there's some significant challenges figuring that out, and also the consent decree is a pretty old thing. I believe it was 10 years ago that it was first put into place. And so we've had some time to kind of figure it out, and it seems like things haven't really been figured out. And as we're providing feedback and letting them know changes need to be made, which they did request us to provide feedback. I remember when I first started this position, that was a big thing. And as we're providing feedback, it seems like they're not really responding to that feedback.
Got it. And when you say they, do you mean administration divisionally within, your own developmental disabilities division, within the department itself, within the state? Who are you speaking to when you say they, I guess?
I guess my personal interactions are more so within the division, and I feel like there is certainly more to be done at a higher level than the division as well. So in the department, in the state as a whole, there's more advocacy and more work that can be done on multiple levels.
Well,
I think.
Oh, please, Matt, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, no, I just expand on that. I think there's multiple parties responsible, but we've been frustrated as we have tried to work with the administrator within BHDDH, Kevin Savage. Kevin has been a leader in state government for a long time. He came from DCYF. He understands these issues in and out. So we were hopeful that we'd be able to get some significant movement regarding our concerns, but unfortunately that hasn't happened. So we escalated our concerns, and we met with Director Leclerc, and we said, these are issues. We think it's important that you work with us on those. We really don't feel, that BHDDH takes our organization seriously, and this would go a long way into kind of moving things forward so we can have an impact, positive impact for our members and the community we served. I know EUHHS, they have responsibility on conflict-free case management. They're aware of this issue. So that's an internal conversation our members have been having. Who is responsible for fixing or bringing the change that we need? So strategically, we're trying to sort that out. But we're trying to start from the path of least resistance and trying to go up the food chain. But it's been very frustrating because we're a small state, and I feel like we can do a lot better, especially with a lot of leaders who understand the problems. It's having the will to actually fix the problem.
Matt, Alex, thanks so much for your time. You measure a society based on how they care for the most vulnerable people in it. Major issue here. We'll take a holistic look at it as things move along here, comparing with those private sector third party providers and what's happening internally in state government. But this is a major deal, no question about it. Thanks for your time and thanks for speaking out.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for stopping by Bartholomew Town. For more content, follow me on Instagram @BillBartholomew.